The Pre-Nuragic period refers to the prehistory of Sardinia from the Paleolithic till the Middle Bronze Age, when the Nuragic civilization flourished on the island. Paleolithic. The discovery of Paleolithic workshops indicate a human presence in Sardinia in the period between 450,000 and 10,000 years ago. According to the researchers, an hominid called Enua was the first to colonize the current territory of the island about 250,000 years ago. In the Lower Paleolithic, based on studies of a phalanx found in Cheromul, the researchers suppose that he may have been a pre-Neanderthal, but some have expressed doubts, assuming a morphological distance from hominids. During the last ice age, sea levels were lower than 130 meters. At the time, Sardinia and Corsica formed a single large island, separated from Tuscany only by a narrow arm of sea. The oldest remains of Homo sapiens in Sardinia date back to the Upper Paleolithic. Their tracks have been found in the central part of Sardinia in the Corbedu cave of Oliana. Mesolithic human remains have been found at the Sucularu cave of Lero in northern Sardinia. The material culture suggests that these people came in Sardinia from the Italian peninsula after a difficult navigation with rudimentary boats. The oldest complete human skeleton was found in 2011 in the territory of Arbis. It dates back to about 9,000 years ago. The period of transition between the Mesolithic and the Neolithic. Sucaropu culture. The culture of Sucaropu represents the earliest phase of the Neolithic in Sardinia. Since 1968, the excavations carried out by archaeologists Enrico Azzoni and Gerard Bayloud in a rock shelter on the limestone hills in the territory of Syri, called Sucaropu, found various coarse ceramics of a black-grey color decorated with the imprint of Serosted Ermeridule along with tools made of obsidian from the Monte Arci. There were also found the remains of ancient meals, with the discovery of bones of animals such as deer, Prolagus sardus, wild boar, thus documenting an economy based on farming, hunting and fishing. The presence of two human skeletons, along with ornaments made of shells, according to the researchers, witnessed the customs of burial cave. The culture of Sucaropu has correspondence in Corsica, the Italian peninsula and the Iberian Peninsula, but especially the findings in Sardinia and Corsica confirm the key role of these two islands to understanding the Neolithization of the Northwest Mediterranean Sea. Grotto culture. The Grotto culture is named after a cave located at Capocaccia near Alghero, where in 1979 important findings had been made. It is dated back to the second phase of the early Neolithic in the mid-5th millennium BC. This culture was present in the northwest part of Sardinia and was characterized by the production of refined pottery, decorated with a toothed tool. On a vase found in the cave, the handles depicted, in a stylized manner, human heads with small nose, eyes and mouth plate. According to archaeologist Giovanni Liliu, this would be the first anthropomorphic representation of Sardinian prehistory. On a wall inside the cave were also found particular graffiti, another singular testimony of these people. Flourished culture. In 1971, the priest and caver Renato Loria found in the territory of Mara, between Villanova Montione and Bozza, a ravine of about 60 square meters. The cave was subsequently investigated by archaeologists V.R. Switzer and David H. Trump. They discovered a series of different cultures that embraced in a very long period of time. The oldest has been dated to the late 5th millennium BC. Findings show that this culture was developed by people dedicated to agriculture, husbandry, hunting and fishing. The researchers noted the almost complete disappearance of the earlier forms of pottery decoration and the appearance of big greenstone rings, also common in Corsica. Acre and the Italian peninsula. These findings lead the researchers to argue that during that period the Sardinian populations had close trade relations with the Mediterranean, Neolithic communities of southern France, the Iberian Peninsula, the Italian peninsula and Sicily. Bonu-Ainu culture. The Bonu-Ainu culture era prevailed from 4000 BC up to 3400 BC. It takes its name from the sanctuary of Our Lady of Bonu-Ainu in the municipality of Mara, near which is the cave of Datintrialu, a place in which were discovered a considerable amount of pottery with zoomorphic and anthropomorphic handles. It spread widely throughout most of the island, and one of the most important villages was that of Puistris in Mogra. It is regarded by archaeologists as the first culture in Sardinia using artificial cavities as graves, and is the natural evolution of the previous Flourished culture, whose cave is located in the same area. The artifacts related to the village and necropolis of Cucurucerius show a well-organized society. At this site there have been numerous discoveries of female figurines depicting the so-called Mother Goddess, whose postulated worship was widespread in much of Europe and in the Mediterranean during the Neolithic, represented in many different ways: standing, sitting, or while breastfeeding. The site Cucurucerius is indicated by many scholars belonging to the culture of Sansariaco. Sansariaco culture. The Sansariaco culture era characterizes the end of the Middle Neolithic. It is regarded by archaeologists as a cultural link between the Bonu-Ainu and the Ozieri, and is currently undergoing an exact definition. It takes its name from the Church of St. Cyriacus of Terilba, a municipality in the province of Oristano, near which was found a prehistoric village full of evidences. During this phase were built the first domus de Janus, a type of hypogean tomb that will spread throughout the island, with the exception of Gallura. Arzachena culture. The Arzachena culture interested mainly the Gallura region and some other eastern parts of the island, with ramifications also in southern Corsica. For this reason it is also referred as Corsican Gallurese cultural aspect. The large circular graves of Gallura mark the debut of the megalithism in Sardinia, one of the oldest in the western Mediterranean. The grave goods included items such as refined cups of soapstone, knives of flint, small triangular hatchets of hard stone, and necklaces of green soapstone. Ozieri culture. The Ozieri culture, also known as the culture of Saint Michael, is named after the homonymous cave in the municipality of Ozieri where were found important evidences. In fact, in that site were found finely crafted vases elegantly decorated with geometric designs incised on clay and painted with red ochre. The older are round in shape and just finished, while those of a later period are highly stylized and more refined. Scholars consider this type of pottery as new to the Neolithic Sardinia, and until then similar artifacts were considered as typical of the Cyclades Islands and Crete. As a result of significant trade with those distant islands, new manufacturing techniques, new knowledge in metallurgy and new lifestyles appeared in Sardinia. These findings demonstrated unequivocally the strong cultural and commercial exchange elapsed between the Sardinians' pre-Nuragic peoples and Neolithic Greece. Based on these important findings, scholars agree in defining the culture of Ozieri as the first great culture of Sardinia. Chalcolithic Sub-Ozieri culture. The Sub-Ozieri culture, dated between 2850 and 2700 BC, is a continuation, particularly in the central and southern part of Sardinia, of the previous phase of the late Neolithic. Obsidian is now rarely used, while metallurgy of copper and silver began to spread. Abele Zoophilagosa culture. The first place is at Osilo, the second at Macuma. This culture developed between 2700 and 2400 BC and was limited to about a dozen sites located in the area of Sassari and a few other in south-central Sardinia. These populations deified their ancestors with the erection of the statue Menhir and built or restored the large megalithic temple of Monte Dacodi, near Sassari, most likely dedicated to the sun god. Grave goods included weapons such as daggers of copper, stone hammer axes and arrowheads of obsidian. Abele pottery show similarities with those of the Ronaldone culture. Monteclaro culture. The Monteclaro culture spread throughout the island between 2400 and 2100 BC. The main innovations are the oven-shaped tombs, individual graves that appeared in the Cagliari area, and the great megalithic walls of the central northern part of the island like that of Monte Baranta, near Olmedo. The ceramics show Eastern influences in the south and from the Fontbuis culture in the north. Beaker culture. It is a culture who came from outside, whose populations lived mixed with people of the indigenous cultures. It was diffused mainly along the west coast and the adjacent lowlands, while finds in the east coast are scarce and concentrated mainly near Dorgali. They are identifiable by the manufacturers of refined pottery, and by the use of stone wrist guard, daggers of copper, bracelets, rings and necklaces of shells or tusks of animals. For the first time gold items appeared in Ireland. The Beaker culture in Sardinia was divided in three phases. The older phase with strong Iberian and Provençal influences. A second phase in which appear obvious influences from Central Europe. A third phase documented in the sites of Lumarinaru and Padru Josu. Early Bronze Age. Bonanaro culture in 1800 BC. The Bonanaro culture, a regionalization of the previous Beaker culture with influences from the Pallada culture of northern Italy, spread throughout the island. They probably erected the first proto-nuraghi or pseudo-nuraghi, but they are few in number compared to the total number of buildings. These proto-nuraghi are constituted by a base with a corridor and a staircase to access the terrace.